Hey guys, it's Melissa here from melissaoatman.com. Welcome to Awaken Your Inner Awesomeness, a daily podcast devoted to spirituality and self-help. If you're new, I want to welcome you. If you're returning, welcome back. So today I wanted to talk to you about living in the present moment. You know, I talked to you yesterday about filling your cup, but a part of that, to me, I think, is ensuring that you live each day in the present moment, not looking back to the past and not looking forward to the future. I told you before that my mom is on vacation, and so she asked my sister and I to go and check on my grandma. So my sister and I went over and we visited with her a little before her lunchtime. So we went over around 10:30. And normally, my grandma is kind of quiet. She doesn't really talk too much. But I thought, okay, this is the time for me to ask her some questions because my grandma has short-term memory problems, but her long-term memory is amazing. She can tell you things she did as a kid. She can tell you about her family members. And some of that is starting to go a little bit, but she'll tell you things, that she'll tell me things I did when I was little. So that part of her memory is amazing. And I mean, she's 96 years old, so that's pretty fantastic. So I decided to ask her some questions, about when she was a kid and when she grew up. And she talked about how she used to follow her grandma all over the place on the farm they had. She was born in Illinois, but she grew up in Doniphan, Missouri. Well, Elsinore, which I think that's in the same area. She grew up in Elsinore, Missouri, and they had a farm, and she talked about how she had to churn butter, and then her parents would make her go door to door to sell the butter to the neighbors, and she just loved butter, and they had fresh buttermilk, and she loved having cornbread and putting it in the buttermilk and eating it. And there were so many things that I learned about my grandma just from talking to her and being really present. And it was kind of funny because her lunchtime is noon. And my sister and I had sort of planned on just, when it was time for her to eat lunch, we would take her to the table and then we would leave then. And she said, they'll let me eat my lunch in my room because I have company. And my sister and I looked at each other and we sort of smiled, and we said, well, that's okay. We can take you out to the table. And she said, oh no, they'll let me eat in here with my company. So they brought her food to her in her room, and we sat with her while she ate her lunch and talked to her through her lunch. And it was a really pleasant visit. And most of the time when we go and visit her, she doesn't do a lot of talking. She just sits there. And I really feel like she enjoyed the talk. I know we enjoyed it, and we learned a lot about her. I mean, some of the stuff I already knew, but it was still fun to hear her talk about it. And it was nice just being in the present moment. And I thought about that. I thought about how many times we are with our families and we're just sort of checked out. And it can be easy to do because life is busy. And I know a big part of it for a lot of people are the phones. We're always on the phones, like we're looking at Facebook or Instagram or whatever, we're checking our stuff. And it's so rare that we put the phone away and don't focus on the phone for a while. And I know that's the case. I see a lot of parents who do that. They're just kind of checked out and their kids are talking to them and they've got their phones out, so they're sort of listening, you know what I mean? They're not being fully present with their kids. And a lot of people are guilty of that. And I'm sure I was at one point or another too, but I know now when my kids come to talk to me, I don't have my phone near me because I love just when they want to come and just laugh and be silly and tell me all about their day. And they've been doing that more and more lately, and I love it. It's like they come in and I'm sitting in the dining room and they just both end up coming in there, and then they start talking about their day and talking about music. And in fact, my daughter Allie will put her headphones in my ear and be like, listen to this song, Mom. And I just love that they want to share their lives and what's going on with me. And I understand that for a good part of their lives, I was a little checked out. I'm not going to lie. And I feel bad about that, I feel really bad about that. When they were little, I was overwhelmed in the toxic relationship I was in. And then I had to go back to work and to school. And so the time that I had, I was just exhausted. So I felt like I was a little checked out then. And then even in this past year, starting my new business, I'm sure there were times I was checked out too. Because for me, it was like getting up at 5 a.m. and then working all day and coming home and doing Reiki sessions and then having maybe an hour or two and then going to bed and just literally passing out from exhaustion. And there still would be times when my kids would say, "Mom, can you check this paper? Can you help me with this homework?" And I don't know how much help I was because I'm sure my brain was probably fried at that point, when they wait till 10 o'clock to ask me. But, it would help them. And that's another blessing to me with this new job is I don't have to get up at 5 every day so I can sleep in a little bit, which means that I'm not going to be so tired when I come home. And it means that I can stay up a little bit later and I'm going to have a little more time to be with them. And because this is their last year being here with me, they're going to go to college or go do what they want to do and spread their wings. And I'm not going to have the time that I have. And I want to make this the best year and make it count. And I'm so grateful and blessed for the opportunity to do that. And I just felt like in that realization, Spirit wanted me to talk to you about that and let you know that it's not too late. Don't be checked out when you're supposed to be having these moments with your relatives, with your friends. It's so easy to do, but you're going to regret it later. You're going to regret not fully being present with them. And this applies even if you don't have kids. Obviously, if you have kids, it's so important. And I totally understand the overwhelm and the exhaustion. Believe me, I do. But that's why it's important for you to take time to fill your cup so you have that time with your kids, and that when you have the time with them, it's quality time. It's not, I'm going to sit here and be a zombie because I'm so tired. And I totally get that feeling. Believe me. I understand that feeling of having nothing left to give. And the universe says, you need to take care of yourself so that when you are with your kids, when you're with your friends, when you're with your family, you can be fully present. It's so important to enjoy the times we have because it can be gone in the blink of an eye, Kids grow up, friends move away, things happen, and it's so important to value that time that you have and just to enjoy it. And I challenge you. I really want to give you a challenge today. I challenge you to be more aware of yourself in your interactions with people. And are you really, really being present with them? Or you're just kind of phoning it in and you're looking at your phone and your mind is elsewhere. And I would challenge you that next time you are with your friends or family or your kids, really be present with them. Be checked in, all in. Listen to what they have to say, because I tell you what, it's amazing. We think we have relationships with our kids and they want to talk to us. When you really sit with them and they know they have your full attention, they will want to tell you all kinds of things. And you will really get to know the amazing people that your children are. And same thing with your relatives too. If you have grandparents who are older, sit and talk to them and ask them about their childhood, what it was like. You will find out some pretty amazing things. Even if they're not relatives, just people who are older. It's amazing just to sit and ask them questions and to get answers, things that you would never even dream of. Like, wow, you did that when you were this age? It's like my grandma talking about churning butter. She said she did this and she would go door to door and sell it, and she was 7. But she always says, well, back then it was different because a 7-year-old was more like an 18-year-old, and She got married when she was 15. And she said, well, back then when you were 15, it was more like being 25. And her insights on things, it's interesting. It's interesting to get a different perspective. But I really, really challenge you to be present with the people you love. And what's great about it is when we're in the present moment and we're enjoying it and we're just being there and not worrying about what we have to do in, 5 hours or what happened yesterday. When you worry about yesterday, you remember you caused yourself regret, anxiety. You can be depressed over what happened. And when you're focused on the future, it makes us anxious because we're not sure what's going to happen. When we stay in the present, and the universe really, really wants you to get good at staying in the present moment, that's where you'll find your peace. Because you're not regretting things from the past that you really can't change anyway, and you're not anxious about things that haven't happened yet. It's when we get in that spiral of, oh, what if, we make ourselves crazy. And the universe is saying, we want you to feel good all of the time. And I know that it isn't possible to be 100% happy all of the time, but you can get pretty close. When you're staying in that present moment and you're focusing on the blessings and the people you have around you, you're going to find so much happiness. You really, really are. Well, I wanted to pull a couple of cards for you, and I decided to do this early on because I love the messages. After I saw them, I was like, okay, I need some time to talk about these. So I pulled a couple of cards for you from the Kuan Yin Oracle deck by Alana Fairchild. But I want to talk first of all about Kuan Yin. So Kuan Yin is the mother of compassion. She guides people into enlightenment. And enlightenment, that is the ability to live in harmony and unity with the love that is and surrendering into that love. Enlightenment is not meant to be a distant spiritual goal, but something that we can live at any time by choosing love, kindness, compassion, and wisdom over fear, judgment, anger, or separation from Source. She is the divine feminine that seeks to nourish us so that we blossom into the fullness of our being. She speaks to you through your heart. So these messages are really all about love. And remember that love comes in many forms. So the first card I pulled for you is Daughter of the Phoenix. When the soul is ready to spread its wings, it goes through a deep cleansing, a preparation for the new. Like the phoenix that is baptized through celestial fire to be born anew, you are going through such a phase of heavenly purification, preparation, and initiation. Soon after, you will enjoy greater spiritual peace, divine power, and advancement on your divine life path. I loved this card because I really feel like it describes a lot of what many of us are going through. We're going through a spiritual awakening, an enlightenment, if you will. And our soul is being prepared for what's coming. And in that preparation, many of us are experiencing things where we're being asked to let go of the things that don't serve us anymore. And we are being asked to learn certain lessons. And when you're going through the process, it can be very painful because you're experiencing your lessons. You're experiencing that cleansing and the letting go of that which doesn't serve you. And oftentimes what comes up is that we have to let go of people that we once truly cherished, but who now no longer fit within our new belief system. And that's okay. No one should ever feel guilty for having to leave people behind. Because when you align with people who are not of the same vibrational level as you, and I'm talking about people that are in your life by choice. Oftentimes family members, they don't align with us vibrationally, but they're still our family members. We still have to be around them. Now, I don't believe that you have to be bullied or anything else by family members, and you can choose to separate yourself if they're toxic, but people who are in our lives are there by choice. And sometimes as we're up leveling, and I see this a lot even with couples, when you up level and your partner doesn't level up with you, it's like you almost have to fall away. Some people are not meant to rise with you. They're just not, because they're not ready. We're all going to be going through an enlightenment, a spiritual awakening, but we don't always all do it at the same time or in the same lifetime. And so if your partner is not where you are, you shouldn't feel guilty about feeling like you have to leave that behind. Because what's going to happen is if you're down here and your partner's down here and you're way up here at this level, your partner may tend to want to drag you down to their level instead of rising up to meet yours. And you don't want anyone affecting your spiritual awakening in that process. We were talking in our group, and I was listening to some of the conversation going on, and someone was saying, well, every time I try to be positive, it's like fuel for my husband, and he comes back and he's very negative. And then it puts me in this place. And this is what I'm talking about. When you're with a partner who isn't supportive of you, that's really difficult. And it's difficult for you to be on your path and be with someone who doesn't support you. I like to compare it to, let's say, for example, you were a recovering addict. Now, if you're a recovering addict and you're married to someone who's also an addict, and you get the help and they don't, and they continue to use around you, well, you can't be around that, because that's going to pull you, you're going to want to fall back into that. And it's kind of the same way with a spiritual awakening. When you're around a negative person, because let's face it, many of us have been conditioned to be kind of negative, and it's all about this process, unlearning what we've been conditioned to learn. And when you're with someone who is still negative and you're trying to be positive, it's like they kill your vibe. And it's frustrating. I know. It's very frustrating. And I've been around people like that when I'm all positive and talking about the good things that are happening to me and what I'm doing. And then you have someone coming in like, well, that's great, but, and it's like Debbie Downer walks in. You know, we talk about preserving your energy. It's depleting your energy to be around people like that. That's the only way I can say that, is depleting your energy. So don't feel bad when you're spreading your wings and you're going through this process if you have to leave somebody behind. Never feel bad about that. And so I also, when I was pulling your cards, 2 fell out. So I took the second one too, and it's Tai Chi Rising. It says your energy field is growing stronger with more spiritual electricity pulsing through your being. Take time to nourish your nervous system as it adjusts, and be gentle with yourself as you adjust to increasing levels of spiritual potency, which gives more impact to your words, actions, and thoughts. May you be strong and merciful, powerful and wise in equal measure. I love this, and I think it's so true. As you're going through this process, you are becoming more powerful, whether you realize it or not. Your words are powerful. And I think some of you are finally beginning to understand that your words and your thoughts, they are powerful. You create your reality through your words, through your thoughts. And what this is saying is that as you are adjusting to this, be gentle with yourself, because you're going to find that oftentimes you may say things, you may think things that are reverting back to the old way of thinking, right? The old negative way. But as you begin to realize how powerful your words are, that you are creating your reality, that what you are thinking about is coming to pass, it's important to be gentle and to realize I can always do things differently. I can always change my mind. I can always decide that I'm not going to go back to that negative pattern. I'm not going to go back to that way of thinking. It's always a choice. Every day you have a choice. And be gentle with yourself, because when you fall sometimes, when you fall back into that old way of thinking, it's human. It's human because it takes practice to recognize that you're doing it. But at any time, you have the power to stop and to get yourself out of that cycle. I truly believe that. At any time, remember, it's rewind, delete, and you reframe that thought. And I absolutely believe that. And guys, I think that those messages were amazing for you, and I love that. I really do. You know, you might notice that there is very interesting energy going on because, again, we're experiencing different planetary alignment. We've got Mercury in retrograde coming up, and it causes a lot of things. I'll probably end up doing another podcast about that, but don't get into this frame of mind of, well, the energy shifting is causing blah, blah, blah. You know, don't get into those stories. Just know that it's happening in case you're feeling a little off or you're having trouble sleeping. That could be why. And when that's happening, you just need to take some extra measures to ensure that you're taking care of yourself. So whether it's doing a deep guided meditation before sleep so that you really have nothing on your mind to keep you from sleeping, whatever it is you need to do, grounding yourself in nature, taking baths, go getting a massage, those kinds of things. Make sure you're being kind and gentle to yourself. All right, guys. Well, this is the last day to enroll in the 5-day free training if you haven't already. So there's still time to do that. So I'm still going to have the link to the training in the podcast description, but it is the last day to get in. So if you want to, it's not too late. Go ahead and enroll. And also, if you want to work with me, there are so many ways you can work with me. There's Reiki, past life regression, coaching, whatever you need. And if you're feeling led to work with me, but you're not sure what you need, just contact me. People text me, they call me, they email me, they message me on Facebook or Instagram all of the time. I absolutely do not mind talking to you and trying to figure out with you what would be best for you. It's great. I love hearing from you, so please don't ever hesitate to reach out. You are not bothering me. And also, if you would please subscribe to the podcast so that it helps others find me. And also leave a review from wherever you're listening. That would be amazing. Even if it's just leaving stars on iTunes, I would deeply appreciate it. And sharing it with others who think might need to hear the message. Also, if you have not done so, go to my website and subscribe, and you will get a free morning and evening meditation. It's just my gift to you. I love you guys. I want to thank you for always listening and being a part of my soul family. Have a beautiful day, and I will talk to you again.